Quick campus, University of Nairobi. And I was speaking to him, I asked him, so how many of you who are in the exec are going into teaching? He told me nobody. The entire official team, CEO officials of Quick campus, and those are many years back, none of them had ambition to go into schools. Reason, teaching does not have money. Teaching does not have money. And my heart bled. My heart was so hard. Because I thought, how can a whole executive team of leadership abandon teaching to non-believers? Because you see, teaching, people will still teach. The government will still have teachers, whether Christians join or not. Your students and our children will still be taught by somebody. It means that we are abandoning the teaching profession to achieve our core wafundisha watoto. And what are we looking for? Money. Think about it. What we are willing to exchange for the care of our children. I have cases upon cases. Like now, one of the ones is a friend of mine who, there are a couple teachers, and I think they are now retiring. They are now in their later years of life, and now they are looking back at how they did it. And they used to do a lot of businesses together with the wife. They managed, and actually they were able to build their own home. They were able to keep a lot of animals, and they were able to do, but they lost their children. I can tell you a number of teachers who lost their children because that whole chase disorients you completely. Disorients you completely. And many other CU patrons who left teaching so that they could go and look for more greener pastures elsewhere and improve their own lives. Now, I first want us to take a bit of a test on our hearts, so that those who are here, we can check ourselves where we are at. You know, you could be somewhere in between. You probably are starting to already think how you need to succeed from teaching. You could be seated here and you are already planning how you are going to exit from teaching. Others you're already feeling guilty, you're not content. You're here, but you're feeling a bit uncomfortable. So number one, check, have you lost a relationship over money and possessions? Is there any relationship in your life that has ever been lost and money was the issue? Mlikosania to your person. And I hope you are not the borrower. You know, sometimes a relationship can be lost because somebody borrowed you money and they never paid you, and you got so angry. Kapasana kabisa. Number two is the one I talked about to the students. You secretly desire to be rich. Even though you don't tell people, but you quietly, in your moments of silence, you quietly desire to be rich. In your secret, private moments, you secretly desire to be rich. So that's the second sign that you could actually be. Greed is calling you, isn't it? Yeah. Number three is that 80% of your prayers are about money or more. 80% of your prayers are about money, possession, something you want, something you need, something you want to get. Yeah. We were discussing with one of the brothers here about examining the prayers of God. An exercise. There's a book we hope to preach in this country, talking about praying like an apostle. examining all the prayers of Paul in the book of in the New Testament, and look at what did Paul really pray for, so that then you can also learn how to pray like an apostle. So looking at, is 80% or more of your prayers about money? The fourth one, your giving is below the minimum of 10%. Remember we were talking about, we were trying to examine and check. In fact, I don't know what you thought about it, because I was trying to be an example of looking at how is giving in the New Testament and what is expected as part of giving in the New Testament. But if you look at your own, once you yourself look at your own giving, you realize you're giving less than 10%. Or 10% or more. Because 10% is the minimum. 10% is the minimum giving. If you look at the widow in Mark chapter 12, verse 41, the one when Jesus stood next to the treasury, the widow gave everything she had. When you look at Zacchaeus when he met Jesus, he was a tax collector, and brings him into his own house. What happened? How much did he pay? He paid 4 times anybody he actually owed any money. So there seems to be a freedom from greed and the love of money when he met with Jesus. Jesus seems to have freedom. Because one of the things that the tax collectors would do is to collect as much money as possible, because they used to get a commission for collecting taxes on behalf of the Roman government. So it therefore meant that the tax collectors were willing to actually be looked at badly and stigmatized by their own people to collect money for a captain and oppressor, the Roman government. So it took a lot of courage to be a tax collector, to be that kind of an agent that now could treat the people. Now, again, when you look at the disciples after the day of Pentecost, when the Spirit was poured out, that's Acts chapter 2 and verse 45, you find that the believers sold their possessions and they used that money to make provision to those who had need. Again, there you realize that they had sold something. The first testimony again we receive of Joseph is Acts chapter number 4, verse 37, who sold a piece of land and then brought it to the feet of the apostles, Apostle Peter, and then it was blessed. So that now next we have Ananias and Sapphira, who in Acts chapter number 5 and verse number 1, they sell their own plot, but they give a portion of what they had sold. And they are confronted and told that you have lied unto the Holy Spirit. So when you look at that kind of giving, it dawns on you that God did not intend, in fact, God did not intend that we would be so excited or feel satisfied by the fact that you've given your 10%. Because it means that our hearts are not yet liberated by the Lord. There is a freedom that comes to the human heart. A serious freedom that comes to the human heart when Jesus allows you to be free from the love of money. That is a powerful freedom that is promised through the gospel. One of the most fascinating scriptures I've ever read myself, and that really shocked me because it took me time to look at it. I want to read it, and then I want you to finish the verse. Don't look at it. So I'm going to read it, and I want you to imagine what the verse says. Okay? As the crowd was pressing on Jesus to hear God's word, he was standing by Lake Gennesaret. This is I'll tell you later on the verse. He saw 2 boats at the edge of the lake. The fishermen had left them and they were washing their nets. he got into one of the boats which belonged to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the land. Then he sat down and was teaching the crowds from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep water and let down your net for a catch." "Master," Simon replied, "we've worked hard all night long and caught nothing. But at your word, I will let down the nets." When they did this, they caught a great number of fish, and their nets began to tear. So they signaled to their partners in the other boats to come and help them. They came and filled both boats so full that the boats began to sink. When Simon saw this, finish the sentence. When Simon saw this, finish the verse. Are you shocked by that response? If it were you, isn't it? Now that you're not a fisherman, isn't it? And Jesus tells you, because one of the things that Jesus did is that Jesus interrupted Simon's business. Because you see, amekuja amekalia boti ya kazi. And then he takes the boat back into the sea a bit so that people are seated on the beach. So Jesus is in the sea inside the boat, and the people are seated on the beach. So he prepares a very nice auditorium. So Jesus preaches, finishes. Simon and his brothers and partners, they are tired because they had done the work the whole night. So in any case, you can have the boat. So Jesus comes. Remember, these guys are hungry because they don't know what they're going to take to their wives and their children and everything. Isn't it? Because they have nothing. They caught nothing through the night. So, ministry imeisha. Sasa ni wakati wa kwenda nyumbani. So, Jesus fills their boats with fish. So, if it was a Christian in Bomet, how would they have reacted? Huh? What would it have been? Yeah, it could have been a testimony next Sunday. You would be extremely excited.
It would be a business opportunity expanded.
You would probably have thought, wait a minute, you would do Masimbaya. You would do Masimbaya. If he does like this every time we are preaching, remember, why did Peter fall before Jesus and tell him to get away? Why was Peter not excited about the fish?
I realized I cannot do anything without Jesus.
You cannot do anything without Jesus.
His presence brings
Fish
blessing.
and the blessing.
I believe again, what happened was beyond his understanding. Yes, it became beyond his understanding. He had to bow.
He had to bow.
Another thing, I feel it's Jesus promised of giving another work. Come and fish us with me. So it's okay.
Yes.
I'd beg to differ from his response because the response of Jesus comes after Peter has spoken or responded. But based on the context of Israelites, they are awaiting the Messiah. So when they saw this, one thing about the coming of the Christ was that it required a man to depend on God rather than self. So there was a form of brokenness in him. So he was not moved by the wealth or maybe what came, but rather the sight of the fact that God had appeared to him.
That God had appeared to him.
I think also Peter alisema nimeng'ang'ana kote na kumbe kulikuwa na suluhisho ya shida zake.
Yeah.
He exclaimed that nimeng'ang'ana kote niliganasa hivi.
About the phrase, I am a sinner.
So why does the provision of the fish and the sinner come?
Exactly.
Why does he feel he's a sinner? Why does he struggle with
I believe
his sinfulness
it's
with the
not-
provision of the fish?
maybe he had in mind that nobody else can do this except God.
God be with him, yes.
And you know that God is holy. So you know what they say now, I'm in the presence of the holy.
I'm in the presence
The
of
mightiest
God.
of the mightiest of all the holies.
My tools and my
You remember? Oh, sorry.
my tools and my husband cannot even think there is in the deep.
Now, remember, before I answer that one, if you go to the book of John, when Jesus resurrects from the dead, and Peter tells a few of the other fishermen, let's go back fishing. Remember chapter number 21 of the book of John.
Yes.
Okay? Then becomes verse number 4. John 21, verse number 4. What's happening there? Who is there? 21, John 21, verse number 4. This is another incident now. Jesus was resurrected. Yes, verse 4.
But when the morning had come, Jesus stood by the shore. Yet the disciple did not know that it was Jesus.
Carry on.
Verse 5. Then Jesus said to them, "Children, have you any food?"
Yeah.
Then they answered him, "No." Father says, and he said to them, "Cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you'll find some." So they cast, and now they were not able to throw it in because of the multitude of fish. Therefore the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." Now Simon Peter added that it was Lord. He put his outer garment and plugged into the sea.
He dived into the ocean. This is a repetition of the first encounter. It is a replay. So Peter remembers what had initially happened earlier. Then Jesus has a conversation with John after that and asks, "John, do you love me?"
I love you.
You know, Jesus, I love you. Do you love me more than?
It's Peter, not John.
It's Peter.
I mean,
It's Peter. It's Peter.
Huh?
It's Peter.
Peter, oh yeah, it's Peter. Do you love me more than this?
Yes, Lord, I love you. The second time he asked him.
What is this he's referring to? Do you love me more than this? This what?
Fish.
Fish! Huh? It's the fish.
Food.
Is it referring to the fish?
Yes.
No.
It is a fishing.
It's the miracle. Look, Jesus is dealing with Peter's heart. Because the first time he shows up, Jesus gives him so much fish. Peter is overwhelmed. He recognizes that now he is with the king and the Lord who can provide him anything he wants. In fact, he could not contain the blessings. Because the boats began to sink, there were more fish coming. They stopped because their boats would have sunk. So wakaacha because now I'm overflow. Senior. Then he repeats the same miracle. Jesus is teaching Peter a serious lesson. He's speaking to him a hard language. Peter, I know you're worried about the fish. I know this bothers you. And I know you love it because it provides for you. But
You love me more than
you love me more than this. Follow me.
In between, so when they did the breakfast, he was doing me after food, you know, it was after eating. He was me after this, more after this. So then the deal. And
The fish that Jesus made is not the fish they caught. He had already made breakfast for them on the shore. So Jesus even had more fish. Peter is overcome. Peter comes to the realization there is nothing this man can do. So instead of celebrating, the blessings in the New Testament don't lead you to celebrate Ubarikiwa. They lead you to realize how foolish you are. When the Lord blesses you overwhelmingly, He will tell you, what are you chasing? I can do way more.
More than you can imagine.
More than you follow me.
yeah,
You follow me. So the blessings are not point for you to start shouting and giving testimonies and telling other people and saying how God has been. God is rebuking you. What is this you are chasing? If I wanted, I can give you more than you can handle. It is a rebuke. It's a rebuke because you are having him. You are having him. I mean, if you are with me, what's wrong with you? I mean, don't you know it's me you are with? You are with me, and I'm the one who provides all these things. So you need, it's a rebuke. It's like you are Ruto's daughter or your Ruto's son. Then you go home and you start bullying. You start getting excited about 1 million. I mean, Ruto looks at you and wonders, what's wrong with you? If I needed to have 10, I can give you now. If my child starts getting excited about 1, I'm stopping to listen to me and what I want, because now you are with me.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
I think there is a part in the Bible, I don't remember where it is saying that it is good to witness what the Lord has done. Doing it somewhere what it is.
No, we are describing Peter first. First, stay with Peter. We are asking, why did Peter witness? Why did Peter wake up from lunchtime to go and announce it in Galilee? Why did Peter look inward? Because Peter had come into contact. Anybody who got into contact with Jesus, they let go.
Wow.
Because the scripture says a man went out and found a precious pearl. They sold everything else and bought
Wow.
this pearl because Jesus is the pearl of more worth than anything else. That's a parable. So if you truly discover Jesus, if you truly encounter him, everything else loses value and meaning. He becomes the meaning. And you become satisfied in him.
So is that why when Peter is writing and James says our faith is more precious than gold?
Exactly. Our faith is more precious than gold. So once you have discovered Jesus, Jesus then becomes your satisfaction.
That becomes your destiny.
Exactly. The destiny is not a place, it is a person.
So we are in
Apana, no, the destiny is the person. You see, you have met the person who owns everything. So you can't have another destiny. Because now you have destiny himself is with you. So Jesus is wondering, what are you chasing? And you are with me. Being with me was the end game.
end result of your
Yeah, you are chasing and your longings and your desires were satisfied once you met me. So if you find a person who is still chasing being, they have not yet met Jesus. Because if you look at all the reactions of all the men, look at how Zacchaeus responds. We are not told even what they discovered. They were just, Jesus comes and has a meal with him. Zacchaeus gives out everything he had stolen from other people. Why does he do that? He has found the pearl of great worth, more than anything else.
So that you say the world is now dead to me.
The world now becomes dead to you because you have found the pearl of greatest worth. This is what your life and your desires you've been longing for all your life. And you're so settled in him because you know too well that at his word he can fill both boats with fish. So we can no longer chase fish.
It is guaranteed.
It is guaranteed. We can have it if he wants. So we are no longer now bothered about provision. Because we found him,
The provision is
provision himself.
provider.
Exactly, that's the theology that takes you there. So the false teacher distracts you from Jesus and keeps you chasing what he himself is chasing. It's only that he's more clever than you. So he makes to you an empty promise. Then you make him wealthy because he knows you are also greedy like him. But because you are more foolish, he ends up being the one who gets wealthy. You see, a false teacher there must be two greedy people for false teaching to work. The one preaching and the one receiving. You see, it can't work if you don't have two greedy people. The one preaching and the one receiving. But the one receiving is more stupid than the one preaching. So this one preaching, since he knows that even this one is greedy like I am, he makes him the promises that he wants. Then this one brings all the money to this one and this one becomes rich.
Sure.
And this one is left miserable. They don't have Jesus and they don't have money. So they are left with nothing. They don't have Jesus and they don't have money. They are left miserable.